We believe that the steps that have been taken are not going to make any significant difference.
The countdown to shut down. In just 6 hours, all of Ontario will be under stricter rules to stop the surge of COVID-19. In Toronto, the push is on to get COVID-19 vaccine shots in as many arms as possible. Starting at 8 o'clock this morning, people 60 years old and above were able to get a shot. Greg Ross has more on the Easter long weekend vaccine campaign.
Many Torontonians were up early, hoping to get an appointment for a vaccine today.
8 o'clock this morning, I logged on to the web portal.
There were tons of open spots this morning.
But those spots didn't last long, according to Chief Matthew Pegg, the head of Toronto's vaccination task force.
We were seeing more than 100 people a minute booking in the system.
4 of the city's 5 vaccination centers currently open were fully booked for the day by early afternoon, which led to longer lines outside the clinics like this one at the Metro Convention Center. The lineups here were longer, but the wait times weren't, according to people we spoke with here today, telling us that the entire process was quick and efficient.
I came about 15 minutes ahead of time like they suggested, and we went right in and went through the process. It's excellent.
I think it's very organized. It's very good.
The city hopes this will mean a huge spike in the number of people getting vaccinated.
We're talking here about a huge population of hundreds of thousands of people who are between the ages of 60 and 70.
The city was able to lower the age because there were so many appointments going unfilled in recent weeks by Torontonians in the high-risk category. In fact, only 50% of people 70 and older have been vaccinated, which begs the question, what's stopping them?
I think there are a number of reasons, and we're on that.
The mayor admits there are those who simply refuse to get vaccinated, but he believes there are others who have obstacles preventing them from getting to vaccination centers or simply aren't getting information.
Now we're engaged in all kinds of efforts to go directly to those people, sometimes even door to door. We've called all the Wheel-Trans customers who we know are, senior citizens. We've called through the library. It has all the people that are seniors that have their library cards. They're calling to say, please get vaccinated.
He says those efforts began a week ago and will continue until everyone 70 and above who wants a shot can get one. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
From Windsor to Wawa and everywhere in between, an emergency brake will be pulled on the entire province at 12:01 a.m., all in an effort to lower daily COVID-19 infections and ease the stress on Ontario hospitals. Jessica Ng joins us live now from Unionville, where more on all of this. Jessica, people enjoying patios out there only have a few hours left.
Yes, they do. Just a little bit of time left. We've been here for a good chunk of the day today, and it has just continued to get busier and busier as people try to squeeze in one last outing before new restrictions come into effect. As of midnight, a province-wide emergency brake shutdown has been put in place by the Ford government. It will stay that way for at least 4 weeks, which is frustrating for residents in York Region, which has been in the red zone for more than a month.
I think they need to focus on the hotspot regions and do something different, because just a shutdown like this, you're only hurting some of the businesses, and it's not fair.
I mean, it's just kind of troublesome, to be honest.
So what does shutdown mean for residents? Indoor and outdoor dining will be prohibited. Restaurants will return to takeout, drive-through, and delivery only. Essential retail, like grocery and convenience stores, they'll be limited to 50% capacity. All other stores, including big box, will only allow a maximum of 25%. No personal care services will be allowed. That includes hairdressers and nail salons. Indoor events and social gatherings are also off the table, but you can gather with a maximum of 5 people outside, with masking and distancing recommended. Dr. David Williams, Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health, explains a driving factor for this decision.
And we're seeing that spread, that all of a sudden areas that were very quiet for a long time are blowing up with cases as people from the high-risk areas go out and obtain services and things and not adhering to the stay local.
Dr. Kareem Kurji, York Region's Medical Officer of Health, says he prefers a more targeted approach to restrictions for his public health unit. It has kept restaurants and businesses open and busy since the region was last in lockdown.
The restaurants were not a problem. The gyms were not a problem. Personal service settings were not a problem. When I say they were not a problem, we've had a few, like 2 or 3 instances, and you can expect that when you've got about 5,000 food premises, for example. But these have been well controlled.
Business owners say all the changes have been difficult.
It's hard. We've been pivoting all along. We have locations in all the different regions, Collingwood, Oakville, downtown, Summerhill, and we've had to do different things at different times for stores.
Yeah, it just feels like we're in the business of health and safety and making sure people are maintaining the proper measures and following the policies and restrictions that they're supposed to be.
Now, the changes will mean something different depending on where you live. If you live in a red zone area like York Region, there will be large changes to what you see that's open. If you live in the gray zone, like in Toronto or Peel Region, it's largely a continuation of the restrictions that are already in effect. Send it back to you in studio now, Chris.
And the restrictions that we have had since November of last year. But thanks for this tonight, Jessica. There's an outbreak at a hotel being used as a temporary homeless shelter. It's one of more than a dozen shelter outbreaks in Toronto, and the city was planning to move people camping in parks into that hotel. But for now, that plan has been canceled. Lorenda Redekop explains.
The city says its plan to start evicting people from encampments like this one is on hold.
I'm so relieved.
This woman lives at Trinity Bellwoods after she says she couldn't afford her rent.
I have compromised immunity, and I'm hearing about the COVID outbreaks in the shelters and the hotel shelters. For those reasons, especially, I didn't want to be forced into the shelter system.
Referrals to this downtown hotel shelter were stopped after the city says 4 people tested positive for COVID. Now everyone is being tested. The city says 3 of the 4 people who tested positive at the Novotel came from encampments and that they were already COVID positive before going there, and they are not linked to any transmission at the hotel. However, according to the city's numbers, 15 shelters, including hotel shelters, are in outbreak, with 329 cases.
We are in a deadly pandemic. The focus cannot be about evicting people who are living outside.
This doctor focuses on social medicine. He says vaccinations can't keep up with the virus.
We are in the height of an ICU situation that we've never seen throughout all 3 waves. There are outbreaks happening, predominantly driven by variants of concern. And right now, our collective focus has to be on keeping people alive.
The mayor says they're working to speed up vaccinations.
It's not a simple task because the people by definition sometimes move from place to place, but we are going to be really redoubling our efforts in the coming days to make sure that we drive up the rate of that vaccination.
This shelter hotel has been in an outbreak for more than a month. Even here, with their own rooms, some don't always feel safe with shared spaces like elevators.
I've been exposed to people 2 different times, and I only found out after the fact because I happened to be there when the staff, approached the people and told them that they were told that they were supposed to be self-isolating in the room and that they couldn't come out.
Homeless advocates would like to see another COVID recovery hotel added downtown. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
To the Kingston area now, where we are hearing from the grandfather of the 3-year-old boy who was found earlier this week after being missing for 3 days.
We were down in a workshop on the property, and I was doing a few things to make the swing, and I just was drilling a couple of holes, and he stepped out the door for a couple of seconds, and I didn't think much of it at the time, and maybe less than a minute later, I went outside and there was no sign of him. It's any parent or grandparent's sort of nightmare, it's like all of a sudden you just get hit with some panic. Or where'd he go? Where'd he possibly go in that amount of time? We were always, hope was always there, but we were all in disbelief when we were told by the OPP he was found alive. We sort of had to see him first, right?
Such a relief for that family. Now, Jude Layton went missing on Sunday near his family's fishing lodge in the South Frontenac area. For the next 3 days, dozens of OPP officers and many volunteers were out searching for the boy. He was found alive and well on Wednesday after an officer noticed something colorful in the forest.
I noticed some blue coloring on the ground, and there's no blue in nature, and I knew he was wearing a blue coat. So I called over to Greg and said, "Hey, Greg, there's something blue up ahead." So Greg started to head over there, and I, once I got the tape tied, I followed him, and and Greg shouted out that it's him. We found him. It's something I'll never forget. Just the moment that we found him.
Officers gave him some water and he was sent to hospital to recover, where he remains. Police say the next step is to talk to Jude and find out how he got lost and what exactly happened over the 3 days that he was missing. A virtual event to honor Sikh heritage for students in the Peel District School Board was disrupted last night by racist and discriminatory slurs. The incident comes on the heels of a number of disturbing displays of hate in the GTA over the past few weeks. Farah Morelli has more.
A video shared by NDP leader Jagmeet Singh to mark the launch of Sikh Heritage Month, posted before he took part in a virtual event with the Peel District School Board, an event that was interrupted by hate. In a letter shared today, the board said this: the virtual presentation was disrupted by unknown individuals who tried to enter the event using racist and discriminatory slurs in their username. It went on to say the hate was directed towards Sikh, South Asian, Black, and 2S LGBTQ communities.
It was actually really concerning and kind of upsetting.
Jessica and Sandhu's 2 young children were watching. Thankfully, he says, they didn't catch what was happening, but many did.
To have it essentially ruined with these kind of racist comments is troubling, but it also exposes a reality on the ground that anti-Sikh hate and racism is very much part of our day-to-day existence in life as a people.
In recent weeks, there's been a cluster of disturbing incidents of hate in the GTA. Police arrested a man for vandalizing the interfaith praying area at Pearson Airport. In 2 days, Toronto police were called to investigate 2 incidents of vandalism with anti-Asian slurs. Just days later, a man was arrested for a separate hate-motivated assault in which a woman's hijab was pulled off.
We recognize that there has been an increase in hate-motivated occurrences from 2019 to 2020.
Toronto police say it's important to report all incidents.
And we want people who experience this crime to come forward to police so it can be investigated.
Peel police say the incident during the school board's virtual event has not been reported to them, but advocates say it should be.
The police need to be able to charge whoever that was with a hate crime. Anybody who is targeting kids and exposing them to violent, hateful discourse needs to be charged.
Sandhu says, if anything, what happened can be a teachable moment during a month that honors their heritage.
I don't think you can speak about Sikh Heritage Month without also speaking about anti-Sikh hate or racism in Canada.
Farah Morelli, CBC News, Brampton.
To developing news now in the United States, and an officer on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. has been killed in an attack this afternoon. Ellen Morrow is live at the scene for us tonight. And Ellen, bring us up to speed on the attack.
Shortly after 1 p.m., just a few blocks from where we're standing now at a barricade. The suspect ramming their vehicle into a barricade, allegedly, according to police, getting out of the car, brandishing a knife, lunging at 2 officers. One of them has died as a result of the attack. Officer William Evans, an 18-year veteran of the U.S. Capitol Police Force, known to people here as Billy. Some journalists who work on Capitol Hill and knew Officer Evans have been tweeting about him this afternoon, saying that he was just the nicest guy, loved to joke around, and he's going to be terribly missed here. Here's a bit of what we heard from police earlier this afternoon.
The suspect has been pronounced deceased. 2 U.S. Capitol police officers were transported to 2 different hospitals, And it is with a very, very heavy heart that I announce one of our officers has succumbed to his injuries.
And Chris, we don't know much about the condition of the other officer, just according to a White House statement from President Biden that he is currently fighting for his life in hospital. In that statement from President Biden, he said that he and the First Lady are heartbroken by the loss of Officer Evans, the killing of Officer Evans, and referenced how it's been such a terrible, difficult time for those who work at Capitol Hill, because this is happening just a few months after the January 6th storming of the Capitol building, an event that also resulted in the death of a U.S. Capitol Police officer, Officer Brian Sicknick. And you can see some of the security presence here behind me. Obviously, there's heightened security here at the Capitol today, given the attack earlier this afternoon, but there's been heightened security at the Capitol ever since that January 6th attack. Some of it in recent weeks, though, was being removed, and there was a sense that some of the trauma of that day was melting away with time. Of course, this attack this afternoon, although on a different scale, will bring all of that back with the loss of another Capitol Police officer, Chris.
All right, such a tragedy. Thanks for bringing us up to speed. That is, of course, Ellen Morrow live for us in Washington. Coming up, love across the 49th parallel.
To drive to Toronto, fly out of Toronto, Detroit, and have him pick me up at the airport in Detroit instead of driving 5 minutes across the border.
How a Windsor group is pushing the federal government to make it easier for those with loved ones in the U.S. to see each other. That story still ahead.
A burst pipe can leave anyone feeling lost. But with Intact Insurance by your side, hang tight. You'll be back in no time.
Intact Insurance. I've got the app.
Oh, well then, I guess it's time for the logo. Or boots and everything.
Some drivers are more adventurous than others, taking the road less traveled. But no matter where you choose to drive, there's only one thing between you and the road. Yokohama tires let you drive farther, stop faster, handle better, and ride quieter. With rubber that's trusted to take you where you're going and to places you've never been. Yokohama. Performance matters.
Did you know the leading bleach spray only helps you clean the top layer of tough messes, making you work harder to get them completely clean? But Mr. Clean Magic Eraser works differently, cutting through dirt and grime to clean right down to the surface, removing what the leading bleach spray can leave behind. Just wet, squeeze, and get erasing nasty bathroom soap scum and tough stovetop messes. And Magic Eraser sheets are perfect for those hard-to-reach, icky messes. And disposable, too. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser cleans tough messes right down to the surface.
Good Friday Mass looked a little different this year. Most services were live streamed so that everybody could participate, but a lucky few got to experience it live.
We didn't get to go last year. It was strictly live streamed, so it's fabulous to be back at church.
You can't miss this Mass.
St. Michael's Cathedral near Church and Dundas opened up for service to only those registered. Religious services are limited to 15% capacity, of course, because of the pandemic. For those who couldn't get into the church for service, it was live streamed on their website. The cathedral will remain open for private prayer until 10 o'clock tonight, with the limited capacity enforced. And it was a good Friday out there, Colette, but it could have been a great Friday if the weather was just a little bit warmer.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, those winds out of the north-northwest, pretty blustery today, Chris. So, yeah, it was a chilly start this morning, but we did have a lot of blue sky in there. So if you could kind of just get yourself protected from the wind, really, it was quite pleasant there. We do have the clear skies ahead tonight, so it is going to be cool. Those temperatures falling off, and we'll still be looking at wind chills for tomorrow morning. A risk of showers really kind of from cottage country and then stretching down towards the GTA. And, you know, it's a pretty slim chance, but still I have to let you know it's there. We'll certainly see some extra cloud cover, but temperatures are going to be on the rise. If that's something you're looking for, we're going to be seeing that as we head through this holiday weekend. The daytime highs today, Ottawa 3, 5 for Toronto, 7 into Windsor, and overnight tonight, Ottawa falling to -10. It'll feel cooler than that, and we're actually going to find the temperature dropping off to about -4 here in Toronto. But even right now, it already feels like we're at the freezing mark. Not much of a wind chill do you have to worry about in Windsor when you have your temperature there above the freezing mark. But looking at what's going on, it is high pressure that is building in. That is what's been in play today. It continues tonight, and that's why we don't have any active weather. Now, that starts to change just a little bit. As it moves a bit further east, we get this little bit of energy coming through, so you can see a little bit of cloud cover. This is midday, all right, 3 p.m. So you start off and have quite a bit of the day with sunshine in eastern Ontario, and you only pick up a little extra cloud cover there building into southwestern Ontario, but central, you'll see it becoming kind of mostly cloudy. But the southwesterly winds are going to be turning around south to southwesterly for southwestern Ontario, and right across towards Cornwall, we're talking about those winds gusting to 30 to 40 kilometers an hour. But that's going to help with the warm up, so pushing those temperatures up. Where are they going for Windsor? This is the rest of your weekend forecast for Easter, 14 degrees up to 18 by Sunday afternoon, and even Monday, some increase in cloudiness, but 19 degrees there. Toronto, 9 degrees for tomorrow with that slight chance for some showers, and still down to freezing Saturday night, but 13 Sunday, 12 on Monday. And finally, Ottawa, 10 degrees, lots of sun till later in the day, okay? And then look at Sunday, Monday. Hey, into the teens, looking pretty good, right, Chris?
We are looking and we are loving. Thanks for this, Colette.
You're so welcome.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. It's hard to stop a train.
There's new COVID guidance in the United States. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says fully vaccinated people can resume travel at low risk. They will no longer need to quarantine after foreign trips, and they won't need to get a COVID-19 test before international travel unless their destination requires it. American Airlines had urged the CDC last month to update its travel guidance. It had been discouraging all non-essential travel, but many Americans ignored that advice, with travel rising, especially during holidays. Health Canada says until a larger number of people here are vaccinated, public health measures remain the foundation of the pandemic response. People with partners and family members in the United States are pleading with the federal government to make it easier to visit their loved ones. The land border with the United States has been closed for more than a year. The Windsor group Love Without Borders is staging regular protests with the hopes of bringing about some long-awaited reunions. Jacob Barker has that story.
Looking at this view isn't easy for Tina Ouellette right now. Her boyfriend of over a year, James Washington, lives about 45 minutes away in Michigan.
It takes a toll on your mental health. It makes you emotional.
The two haven't seen each other since Ouellette visited him last August. Getting there and back wasn't easy.
So I have to drive to Toronto, fly out of Toronto, Detroit, and have him pick me up at the airport in Detroit instead of driving 5 minutes across the border. Okay, I love you.
All right, love you too. But the couple has managed to hold it together through FaceTime and online. Ouellette has had to manage some health complications without Washington by her side. And while Washington may have the option of visiting Canada, he'd have to quarantine for 14 days. Caring for a child, it's time he can't afford to take.
It's been a real struggle to see her go through a lot that she's got going on with herself, and me not be there for her in her time of need.
Well, there are exceptions at the border for essential workers to be able to cross and forego quarantining. But Ouellette's group, Love Without Borders, would like to see an exception for people with personal ties on the other side of the border as well, so that they can cross.
They're not really caring about that right now. They're caring about whatever they can make money from is what they're caring about. They're not caring about the actual people.
COVID has shown that if you just open up the door just a little bit, it'll take advantage of that. And so that's why we're being very strict in terms of adding additional layers of protection at the border.
MP for Windsor-Tecumseh, Eric Kuzmerchek, says he understands the frustrations. He points towards the fact that 55,000 applications to reunite families have been processed by the federal government during the pandemic, but even those require quarantine.
Especially now as we're seeing the variants taking hold, the variants of concern in our community and across Canada, this is not the time to be relaxing those measures. Those measures are in place to protect Canadians and protect families and protect communities that are cross-border like ours.
Ouellette is remaining steadfast, however. She says their protest will continue every weekend until they are heard. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
And that's our show for tonight. Have a great long weekend. Kelda Yoon has your next local newscast tonight at 11, right after the National. Have a great night.